To say the SEC dropped the ball on Bernie Madoff's Ponzi scheme, it's an understatement. So could there be another Bernie Madoff waiting to make you fall victim? For more on this is Pat Huddleston, CEO of Investors Watchdog and a former member of the Enforcement Division of the SEC. Pat, welcome. Great to have you here.
Hi, Gerri. Great to be with you.
All right, so I want to show folks what Bernie Madoff had to say in his first interview. It's really astonishing. He said they, meaning banks, had to know, but the attitude was sort of, if you're doing something wrong, we don't want to know. So he's saying essentially the big banks knew that he was a crook and turned the other way. Do you believe that's true?
You know, I don't believe it's true. I'm not a psychiatrist, Gerri, but I think Bernie Madoff is a sociopath. So I would caution people against believing anything he has to say.
All right. Well, you know, we wanted to talk to you about how to keep yourself safe. But you said something so interesting to our booker. You said this is a very dangerous time for investors. Why?
Oh, it is. I think we've got a perfect storm brewing here. I mean, previous guests talked about how Social Security is not going to be there for people. So they have to protect their personal savings or the consequences are going to be disastrous. Beginning in May and then continuing for 19 years, 10,000 baby boomers are going to turn 65 every single day. And shortly thereafter, many of them are going to retire. They're going to move their 401k balances into self-directed accounts where they're going to be as vulnerable as turkeys in November. Trust me, there are hundreds of Bernie Madoffs out there. I know this because I blog on a new one every single day, and usually I have several to choose from.
Well, you also said that state securities regulators, who are a very important part of the regulatory framework, are getting an increased workload because of Dodd-Frank. And so their attention is going to be completely diverted away from us, who need all the help, and to putting this law into action. So at the very time we need to be saving and investing the most, we're not going to have the least protection.
Well, that's right. I mean, and we're not even sure that the SEC is going to be funded to the levels that Dodd-Frank called for. But you mentioned the state securities regulators. They're very important in the regulatory framework. And what's happening with the states now? They're all having to slash their budgets, and that includes slashing their securities commissions. And so there's going to be fewer cops, fewer investment cops, if you will, on the beat at a time when the biggest generation in history moves through and needs them the most.
So, Pat, how do I keep myself safe? How do I make sure that I'm not, another Bernie Madoff victim?
Well, we can start with Madoff's comment. He said they had to know. And when we read about investment scams, we typically think, I would never fall for something like that. How dumb could these people be? The first thing to do is recognize that reaction in yourself and realize it's just part of a healthy human optimism bias that we have, and appreciate that they really are vulnerable, that these people are really, really good. And then the second thing is to realize that if you don't protect yourself, nobody is going to protect you. I tell people to watch out for a lavish lifestyle. Extravagant spending has become trite with these guys. So I say, listen, if the person who's managing your money spends it like a trust fund baby on a weekend shopping bender, he might just be spending your money, not his own money.
Oh boy!
And then the other thing to look out for is to investigate are the supposed professionals involved, the auditors, the attorneys. I have in mind now two large Ponzi schemes that totaled more than $1 billion, both of which could have been avoided if somebody had bothered to drive by the supposed offices of the independent auditor, because there was nobody there. It was just an empty office, a creation of the scam artist's imagination.
Wow.
So the regulators are not going to be able to stop this. Even if you doubled their size, though, what they do is they find misconduct after it's occurred. What you as an investor want is to stop it from occurring in the first place to you. We've got a book coming out in October that gives people the tools that we use at Investors Watchdog. And I just really encourage people to take it upon themselves to do that investigation, because, if the regulators catch anybody, it's already after they've hurt you.
Well, Pat, you have to come back when that book comes out. In the meantime, you got to keep your eyes open and your ears to the ground. Pat, thank you so much.
My pleasure, Gerri. Thank you.